Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I talk about Fleer Force in basketball. And there were two sets. There was a 1999-00 set, and then there was a 2001-02 set. Those are, it's basketball, so it can get a little confusing considering the fact that there was no 2000-2001 set. So, in 1999, they made a Fleer Force set, and then 2 years later, in 2001, they made another one. And it's interesting to be able to look at these two sets that are spanned across this very significant year of 2000, because over the course of 2 years, it was very common in the 90s for the card industry to completely change. In the late 90s, it wasn't quite as clear as earlier on in the decade, but in 1999, cards were very, very, very much 90s. By 2001, there wasn't much left of the 90s. And so that means that you can look at these two sets and see a wildly different attitude about how to approach cards. And that's kind of the fun of it. So for 1999, the Fleer Force set was very much a 90s card set. This is a card set that's built all around getting a bunch of chase cards, just tearing through packs to get more and more chase cards. And the chase cards are parallels and inserts and parallels of inserts. In fact, if you look at the main card in the set, there's nothing to it. This is a chrome finished card, so it's almost mirror-like, and it has a picture of a player where the background fades from a full background to a full silver mirror-like effect. And then over on the mirror side, or on the silver side, they have the player name and the team name in a way you cannot read, and a very late 90s card back, and that's it. This card was all about facilitating the parallels. And the parallel is, there's only one, and it's called Force Field, and it's the same card, except they have a rainbow holofoil effect on the front of the card in a vertical fashion, so it has a horizontal sweep to it. And it says Force Field on the back, and that's it. So it's a matter of you put together this really very large set, and you pick up a bunch of parallels as you go along, and consider whether you want to do the whole set. That's all there is to it. The rookies in the set, there's no subset, but the rookies close out the set, and these cards are done the same way. These cards are done as portraits, which looks a lot better with this particular design approach they have for the card set. All of the rookies are individually serial numbered out of 1600. And for the Force Field, well, the Force Field parallel is, exactly as you would expect. It's got the effect on the front, but on the back, it's individually serial numbered out of 100. So they're a lot more rare on the for the parallel for the rookies. But that's it. That's the set. And the reason for that is because, well, the set isn't really supposed to be the key to what you're collecting. Aside from the parallels of again, pretty large set, this is about the inserts. And the first insert is Attack Force, and yeah, you can see that this is not really a well-structured environment as much as it's a bunch of stuff that they put together to kind of excite people, and really not much more than that. You got a picture of the player, and then you have a background with some design effects and a very strong color, and you can actually kind of see some of the concepts of computer graphics and internet types of ideas on this card. That was still pretty new. 98, 99, we're still kind of getting the hang of this whole internet and computer thing in terms of bringing it into the world of cards. So it still was kind of avant-garde in doing this. Other than that, not much to this card set. They do have the parallels for all of these inserts, and with the parallel, it's obviously the same effect on the front, and then on the back it says Force Field, and really that's it. They weren't doing anything with serial numbering. Basically, if there was a serial number, there would be a serial number. If there wasn't, then there wouldn't be. That's just the way it worked. So yeah, it's about chasing a bunch of insert sets, and Attack Force was the first. The second one is Forceful. And this card is, again, you can really see the computer graphics, Windows design concept that goes into this card. It gives a really big, almost mirror-like window in the card. And I'm always amazed when I look at this card, it actually looks kind of fancy. There's no reason for that, it just kind of does. And it's also a more rare card than the Attack Force. This is one of the more rare of the insert cards. And of course it does have the parallel as well, the force field parallel. In this case, the force field on the as it's written on the back is in gold foil. So there is that difference, but other than that, it's pretty much straightforward. Then they have Mission Accomplished, and it's a good thing they did this in 1999, because if they'd done this in 01 or 02, it could read a little bit differently. But Mission Accomplished is actually a card that does a really good job of capturing the full potential that this whole card concept has. The cards have a lot of color on it, which works really well with the chrome version of the card. But then when you move over to Force Field, you can see that the effect is a lot better too, because now the richness of the holofoil carries a lot better on this card. Then they have a set called Operation Invasion. This is a card that is completely die cut, so it's die cut on the top, die cut on the bottom, very much like the Upper Deck Power Deck cards we were starting to see, except with Upper Deck Power Deck they were doing not miniature, they were kind of miniature CDs or DVDs. In this case, it's just the design of the card, so they have the die cutting at the top, die cutting at the bottom, and a whole lot of yellow on this card. Where this is really interesting, though, is that when you look at the force field version of the card, they actually do not have die cutting at the top, which is unusual, because normally you do the extra die cutting on the more rare card, not the less rare card. So in this case, the less rare card is double die cut, the more rare, the parallel, is only die cut on the bottom, not on the top. I don't know why they did that, but they did that, and it often will throw me off because this is a set I'm working on, so it's something to kind of keep in mind. And then they did one other somewhat basic insert set called Special Operations. And for Special Operations, this is a card that actually has texturing on the surface of the card, not of the player, but the rest of the card has almost a leather-like effect over the entire surface of the card. But that's not a spectral effect. The spectral effect is the same, and so with the whole texturing of the surface of the card, creates a jewel-like quality that makes this card actually look really, really impressive. Unfortunately, when you shift over to the parallel does not contribute anything, so it almost holds the card back compared to just the pure nature that the card has. I do wish that the design was more interesting, but at least the surface of the card carries in a very distinct way. So it is pretty cool like that. Then they also had an insert set called Air Force 1-5. And the reason for 1-5 is this is a card set looking entirely at Vince Carter, whose jersey number is 15, or was 15. So this is because Vince Carter was the big Fleer star for the time and the league star at the time. So he was just coming up. Everyone was getting excited about him. Here's a card set celebrating Mr. 15 with a 15 card insert set, which is perfectly oriented. So the card set is Air Force 1-5. That's just the way that it works. And the cards are all embossed, which is a neat quirk to this card that's very distinctive. And the cards are a lot more rare than the other cards that we've seen here in the set. To the tune that they also have a parallel, as you would imagine, but the force field parallel, not just with the effect on this particular card, on the back they're all serial numbered out of 150, which is 15 times 10, so it still carries along. But thankfully they didn't get carried away and make the cards numbered out of 15. They did it out of 150, so thank you very much. Now, there were various cards like inserts that were popping up here and there with Vince Carter in Fleer. In some cases, they went across all the different brands. Sometimes they were in a more specialized way. I haven't mentioned autographs of his in these cards because I don't really want to get into that level with the cards, not in this video. But I do want to note that they did do a jersey card that is distinctly associated with Fleer Force. This has a picture of him wearing a camouflage jacket. And well, look, Fleer Force, the whole thing was themed around military. You had Special Operations, Operation Invasion, you had the Mission Accomplished, so of course they're going to do something in terms of a camo jacket that they then cut up and put as materials on this card, so it's the jacket from the photo shoot. So kind of a weird approach for a material card, but at any rate, they did do this card along with the 1999 Fleer Force set. And that's all they did for Force. Force and Focus, there were a couple of sets that Fleer popped out at this time that just they didn't have any interest. In the late 90s, there were a lot of sets that unfortunately fell into that trap, and these two did. In the case of Force, though, for basketball, they were able to bring it back in 2001. And the 01 set is wildly different because where in the late 1990s, you could still get away with having people chase a bunch of packs in order to complete a bunch of sets. By 2001, we were already moving into the numberless card world where we'd had some in the previous years, but now it was becoming more of a standard part of the hobby. We were getting into special autographs and material cards. That was what was really driving collectors now. It wasn't really about sets. And so the set for 2001 Fleer Force very much fits that model. The set itself is not really the draw, but here the card design is actually really good. It's got a couple of things going on that are kind of thrown together like somebody's exploring Photoshop. They're really good, but they have no design concept yet. And I think the cards come through great, especially because they have a heavy predominance of team colors. That's a big plus with these cards. So the cards in the set, it's broken into the same way. It's broken into a bunch of veteran cards and then a bunch of rookie cards at the end. For the Special Forces Parallel, the silver print is replaced with gold print, but they have a serial number stamped down on the bottom part of the card. And the serial number actually is put onto a little strip, which we would see a lot with autographs. In this case, they weren't doing it with autographs, they were doing it with serial numbers. And I've never entirely understood why they do that. But at any rate, because if you were doing it with handwritten numbers, okay, I could understand it. In this case, it's printed on, but okay, whatever. This is how they approached it. And so that's the way the design set, the set is designed. For all the veterans, there's the basic card, and then there is the Special Forces Parallel that's individually serial numbered out of 250. And then they have their rookies that follow up in the set. Here they're horizontally oriented, and the cards they look really nice. They're well proportioned. I love the big logo that they have. But these cards also have the parallel and some. So every single base card for the rookies is, like previously, individually serial numbered, but this time they're numbered out of 999. However, the first 300 of these cards, they followed along with what Don Russ had been doing for years, and here with Fleer Force, the first 300 of the 999 cards also have a stamp on them with a cancellation stamp on the stamp, and the logo for Fleer Force is now a gold stamp. So we got a couple of different interpretations of stamp all going on this card, but for almost a third of the cards they're done this way, and then the rest of them are done in the more traditional way. And they have the parallel, so the Special Forces Parallel is it's as you would expect, but it's individually serial numbered out of 50. So for the rookies, they have two parallels. They have the postage stamp parallel, and they have the Special Force parallel as well, both of those. And that is what they did for the main set. They didn't bother with anything else. And then they had their inserts. So the first insert is called Emblematic. This is a card with die cutting at opposite corners. So there's kind of a hook up that the cards have. And they're individually serial numbered out of 399. Now this card set is not designed really for these because they did a parallel of almost the entire set. Not the entire set, but they did a parallel of most of the players. And in this case, it's a materials card, which makes it a lot thicker. These are not individually numbered as a card set. So they're all individually numbered with letters referring to the players. So you don't worry about collecting the entire set, which is perfectly fine because they're all individually serial numbered out of 50, so it's a lot harder to get these cards. That's just the way that they approached it. Then they have a set called Inside the Game. And inside the game is a vertical card that is, it's got some design elements down at the bottom, and it's serial numbered on the back out of 699. So there are a lot of these. But this is, again, designed around the materials parallel. And so the main materials parallel that they have, the jersey swatches, these are individually numbered out of 399. These are, again, not numbered as a set. They're standalone letters, basically for each player. Not every player in the main card set is featured here with these cards. And you can see that they redesigned the bottom of the card for the material swatch, which is okay. Otherwise, it's very similar to the base card. And these cards do have a parallel, which is their jersey number series, which is, it's basically a patch that has part of the number for the player's jersey. And these are individually serial numbered out of 99. So that's the level. There's the base, which is 699. All these cards have a regular card set number. And then they have the regular jersey swatches, which is numbered out of 399, no set number. And then likewise, the jersey number cards are individually numbered out of 99. So that is the inside the game set. And then they did another insert set called True Colors. And for True Colors, this follows a similar model to what we've just seen in Inside the Game. Now, Inside the Game did have a base level set, and then they had the two different parallels. And the parallels, or partial parallels, because not every player in the set had one of these, but the jersey swatches, there were two parallels, one with silver foil and one with a hollow foil. So that's the model that they had developed for this. Well, for True Colors, these are just material cards. That's just what they are. They don't have a base set. So they don't have set numbering. That's not the whole story that goes along with the card, though. So the basic level card for True Colors is thinner than the other cards, but it is a one color card, and that's the whole theme. So on the front of the card, it has silver foil. On the back of the card, you'll notice next to the letters at the top, they have in brackets 1. So that denotes that it is the first level of the parallels. You'll also notice that these are individually serial numbered out of 400. So the next step up is the two color. And so on the front, you have gold foil. On the card back, you have the bracket with 2. And you also have serial numbering that says out of 200. So these cards are thicker. They have a different serial numbering. That's the design approach they went with. That's the whole theme they went with. For the 3 color, they have a platinum blue foil on the front. Unusual thing for Fleer to do. And then on the back, they have bracket out of 3, and every single one of these cards is individually serial numbered out of 100. Of course, they did a 4 color because, like I said, there are 4 versions of these cards. And so here on the front, you have the hollow foil. On the back, you have bracket of 4, and all the cards are individually serial numbered out of 50. And that's the set. So you can see that for 2001, the whole thing was all about these material swatches. That was the thing. It wasn't about parallels per se. It was about getting these pieces of material that are supposedly special related to the player. Who knows where the jerseys came from, what they ultimately meant, but that's the way that the whole design for 2001 Force worked. And there was nowhere for them to go with it, so we only got 2 years of it. But it really is interesting to look at the difference between a 1999 set and a 2001 set. It's a fun quality about Force that they give us the opportunity to see this. So, there are a few little elements I didn't bother to get into with this because I didn't want to get too labored. I want to get mainly into the cards that we're going to collect. And I will note that there are some cases of True Color cards where they have individually handwritten numbers on the cards. I believe the case of this was that somebody got some cards that were replacement cards and then just like hand numbered on the cards and are trying to sell them as something really rare. They're not. Fleer didn't do that. They printed the cards and that's just the way they approached it. So here we go. And yeah, if you've got any comments about these cards, definitely let me know. If you have any interest or any questions, obviously ask me as well. If you haven't subscribed, I urge you to do so and check out my other videos, and thank you very much for watching.